Televangelist Pat Robertson does these bonkers Q&A sessions from time to time. Sometimes we cover the silly things he says. But as he's gotten older, the segments have gotten even more ridiculous. I didn't think that was possible, but it is. So he's going to say some stuff here about atheists. Uh-oh. Let's watch.
For your questions and some honest answers. And Pat, this first one comes from Ethel, who says, when my son told me he was going to marry an atheist, it was a tough pill to swallow, but I managed to get through it. I raised my son to believe we as Christians should only marry inside the church, but I know he loves her so much that I can't bring myself to say anything about it. Should I respect his right to make his own choice?
Well, Ethel, your son has grown up, but yeah. The Bible is very clear. What fellowship has Christ with Belial? The Bible says, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. And what is happening, as Billy Graham said so cogently a few years ago, you marry an atheist and you've got the devil for your father-in-law. I mean, that's what's happening. And this son is going to be in torment because they will be fighting all the time about very important things. That assumes that he really cares about the Lord. If he doesn't, then of course they'll both be into atheism together. But what can you do as a parent? Well, you can advise him, you can counsel him, but the Bible says raise up a child in the way that he shall go, and when he's old he won't depart. You haven't raised him very well if he's going into atheism right now.
You couldn't do that segment about any other group of people. You could not do that segment and say, you know, hey, my son, their son wants to marry a Jew. Is it okay to marry a Jew? And then Pat's like, well, you know, I want to make sure, and people say you want to marry within the faith and you don't want to marry a Jew. You want to make sure they're a Christ believer, and you have to make sure that they're not straying from the word. You haven't raised them right if they want to marry a Jew. Anti-Semitism 101. 101. Imagine he said it about black people. Well, they want to stay within the race. You don't want to marry outside the race, and you haven't raised him right if he wants to marry a black person. Racism 101. But for some reason, you say it about atheists? Nobody says shit. The only people, the Friendly Atheist covered this. I haven't seen it anywhere else. But he's out there, and look, even though his power's waning and whatnot, he's really up there in age. He's been a little bit of a joke on the left, especially for a while, but he still has millions of people who listen to him. And more importantly, he's expressing a sentiment that is pretty widely believed across the U.S. We covered the poll the other day. Isn't it 42%? Because people have, in their minds, conflated two things. Atheism with, I don't believe in right and wrong. So, do you want your kid to marry an atheist? You may as well have said, do you want your kid to marry somebody who's okay with robbery and assault and murder? That's what a lot of people hear when you say, oh, marry an atheist. But the reality is, nothing could be further from the truth. Because that doesn't mean you don't, believe in laws against assault and you don't believe that, killing is wrong. Of course you believe killing is wrong. Of course, when you look at the polls of the beliefs of atheists, more atheists believe in a Christ-like philosophy than Christians do. They're in favor of helping the poor. They're in favor of universal health care. They're in favor of treating people right and the golden rule. So it's just nothing but old school bigotry. That's all it is. That's all that was. That's anti-atheist bigotry that you just saw right there. I don't want to marry. No, you did a bad job raising your kid. What did he said something about the devil? If they marry an atheist, the father-in-law is the devil. What the fuck does that even mean? Can you imagine? Marry a Jew, the father-in-law is the devil. You marry a black and the father-in-law is the devil. Bigotry 101. But when it's atheist, nobody says anything. So it's just pathetic. It's just absolutely pathetic. Especially because atheists, that's the fastest growing minority belief in the U.S. Non-believers, by the way, are already like over 20% of the country. Non-believers are like a little over 20%. Atheists, I think it's lower, 3%, 4% or something like that, but that goes to show you that it's enough with the fucking discrimination against people who don't believe in your fairy tales. Because that's what it is. You believe in fucking magic and wizardry and voodoo and Jigglypuff in space, and then you fucking judge people and look down on people who say, I don't believe your Mother Goose nonsense, and you're a bigot against them. See, I would never come out here and say, oh, don't you dare ever fucking, don't marry a Christian, don't marry somebody who holds different beliefs than you on stuff like that. I would never do that, ever. But they do it all the time against atheists, and it's, well, what do you mean? It's just totally normal. It's fucked up, man. It's absolutely ridiculous.